But Brandon, let's move on into our next topic. And if you're on Blog Talk Radio, if you're on iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to podcasts, thank you guys for trucking through this. This is going to be a long one, longer than an NFL mock draft has been. If you're an NBA mock draft listener here, it's right up your alley because you're used to long podcasts like this. If you're on YouTube, welcome into our, 11 through 21, because it's weird in the NFL because there's 32 teams. If you didn't check out our 1 through 10, it'll be right up there. You can go ahead and check it out. It'll also be probably at the end card of this video when you're done. Go and check that out. Brandon and I went at least an hour and 15, maybe an hour and 10, talking about the top 10 picks of this mock draft. We're not going to do that the rest of the way. We're just going to highlight some teams, probably 3 teams from each of the remaining 211. Let's get into it. Before we do, follow us on twitch.tv/mostvaluablepodcast sooner rather than later. Here's my plan, Brandon. I'm saying this live on a podcast. My Black Friday, I always make a big Black Friday purchase, right? 2 years ago, it was this laptop. Last year, it was my all-in-one at home that now I edit all the videos on. This year, I have found my Black Friday purchase.
That's exciting.
I am going to get a MacBook Pro. And the reason why I'm getting a MacBook Pro is so that we can use it to live stream all of our podcasts. So sooner rather than later, we will be live streaming our podcasts. And where will we be live streaming them? Right on twitch.tv. So if you want to be ahead of the game, follow us over at twitch.tv/mostvaluablepodcast. But let's get into 11 through 21. Let's go through my mock draft. At 11, the Cardinals go with CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. At number 12, Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama. Jaguars at 13, Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker safety. I have him down as a linebacker, but he's also kind of a safety out of Clemson. 14, the Chargers going C.J. Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. 15, some say it might be too high, but I got the Titans going with Jalen Hurts, the quarterback from Oklahoma. Raiders go with A.J. Epineza. Epineza. I don't know. I say names wrong. If I'm saying it wrong, correct me down below. That's the easiest way because I'm an idiot sometimes. But the Raiders go with A.J. out of Iowa. Then the Dolphins via the Steelers going with Jonathan Taylor, the running back from the Wisconsin Badgers. Eagles at 18 go with my boy, Stephon Diggs, his brother, Trayvon Diggs, the cornerback out of Alabama. And Stephon's my boy only because he plays for the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm a huge Minnesota Vikings fan.
He is a pain in the butt.
Why? Because you got him on fantasy, or you play against him on fantasy?
No, because I did play against him in fantasy at one point this year, and instead of doing his usual 1.4 that he should usually
get... Was it the Lions game?
No, it was the Eagles game, which was highly worse.
Yeah.
Where he went for, 160-some yards.
2 touchdowns?
And at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. He had a couple touchdowns in that game.
It was sickening.
Yeah. But
continue.
To end this, the Panthers, they're going to go with Christian Fulton. If I said that right, did I? I got to zoom in. Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU. Jaguars via the Rams at 20 going to Raekwon Davis. I've said him on numerous podcasts because he keeps wanting to go back to school. Defensive tackle out of Alabama. And then the name I'm going to screw up that I probably should have looked up.
Laviska Shenault Jr.?
Laviska Shenault Jr.? Is that right? Or are you just trying to guess shot in the dark there?
That's literally how it looks to me on this piece of paper.
Laviska
so that's how I'm saying it.
Jr. to the Cowboys at 21. The team I want to start off with, Brandon, is the Chargers. And the reason why I want to start off with the Chargers, I'll just put my water bottle down. I took it
you really wanted to hold that, though.
Well,
I feel more comfortable by holding this.
Well, here's the thing. You started talking, so I'm like, oh, cool, I'll go take a drink. And then as I pulled it in, I'm like, oh, I'm now talking. I'm finishing the draft. I'm just going to hold it here because eventually I'll drink. But no, I'm talking, so I'm going to go ahead and put it down until you do. But when you look at the Chargers, and I got to pull up their spot rack for this. So the pick I have them going with is, let me tab back over,
C.J. Henderson,
cornerback out of Florida. Well, I had the spot rack up, and I'm like, I shouldn't try to do 2 things at once, but I am here on the podcast. I had them go with him because cornerback is a need for this team. However, there's a chance You look at Spot Rack. Phillip Rivers is a free agent at the end of the year. I know they have Tyrod Taylor, but is he the guy you want starting games?
And we all know the answer.
Also, Melvin Gordon, unrestricted free agent. Austin Eckler, restricted free agent. The question I want to ask you is with the Chargers, because they had a chance to draft both of these players in my mock, and I decided to go against it, but I will ask you what you would do. Should the Chargers, if they're drafting at 14, we'll just say for the sake of argument, they're at 14 because that's where they are right now, should they draft a quarterback or a running back? Should they draft Jonathan Taylor or should they draft the best quarterback, which for me would be Jalen Hurts, who went right after them to the Titans?
How crazy would it be if the Chargers made a trade with the Buccaneers and said, we'll trade you Melvin Gordon and we'll take your pick and we'll get Justin Herbert? Dumb.
So they would
stupid, silly.
So you're saying as I spill water all over myself, that's what I was doing there because I was thinking and drinking.
Oh,
and
you can't. One can't do both. One cannot do both.
No. Not one. I can't do both. There's a difference.
Yeah, there is. Yes, that's true.
It's like my grandmother used to say, never walk and chew gum at the same time. Or you can't walk and chew gum at the same time, Ricky. But it's not too crazy. My only thought is, how do you make that work? Does that mean, is it basically like a sign-in trade that you would maybe get in the NBA where free agency, they sign Melvin Gordon and then they trade him over draft night to...
That's exactly what I would be thinking.
Are they allowed to do... Are you allowed to trade him that soon?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have absolutely zero idea.
Let me just pick up the phone and call Adam Schefter and see what he knows.
You call Schefter, okay. I'll call Rappaport. We'll see which one gets back to us first.
Okay.
But I think that
makes sense, though.
It could be interesting if it's possible, and we're going to need maybe your help. Yeah. Because you always act like you guys are smarter than us anyway, so now try and actually be smarter.
Some people are. I'll be honest. Some people are smarter than me.
I don't know about that. You got a master. You've got a master's degree.
I said some people. I didn't say all people.
I don't know if any doctors are out there listening, but if you are, I don't know if you've heard about this thing called Patreon that you can go to / Most Valuable Podcast. But so I think it's an interesting scenario because ultimately, when it comes down to it, I don't think that Melvin Gordon is going to fit for the Chargers.
Yeah.
And I don't think he fits right now. And the reason being is because I loved Austin Eckler so much while Melvin Gordon was gone.
Austin Eckler is getting re-signed because he's an RFA, right? Like most teams are not going to flirt with that RFA.
No. I mean, I definitely think he's getting re-signed. I think the Chargers are... No offense. I think they're kind of done with Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, because they've got Pope, who's also a restricted free agent at the end of the year. The only running back they have on contract after this year ends is Justin Jackson. That's it. Kid out of Northwestern.
And he when he was healthy last year, he showed some pretty good sparks of some talent.
But he's not the guy that you're like, yeah, that's the guy I want as my number one running back.
No, but honestly, Eckler can be that guy.
Yeah, he can.
I mean, you had him in fantasy, and I understand.
I still do.
Now we're talking. I know, but we're talking, real life football now. But from a fantasy perspective, he is a really good player.
Yeah,
he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he is a shifty guy. He can go for extra yards. He's a good hard runner, and just the fact that he's quick, he's fast, and we know it because we traded for him in Madden, and he's fast in that too.
And Jonathan Taylor, I think, could be... First off, I think it'd be really ironic that they'd be getting rid of a Wisconsin running back to draft a Wisconsin running back because Melvin Gordon played for Wisconsin. But I do think that Jonathan Taylor coming in, even if they moved on from Gordon and kept the 14th pick and didn't go quarterback, if they kept Eckler, drafted Jonathan Taylor, I think that Eckler and Taylor could be the kind of... I don't want to use the exact one-for-one, so I'll say, to be nice, the budget version of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, where Austin Eckler is your speedy back, can be used in the pass game. But Jonathan Taylor can also be used in the pass game, but Jonathan Taylor is more of that... He can be more of your north-south runner than Austin Eckler can. Where Austin Eckler, you're using him more outside runs, pass catching, where Jonathan Taylor, yes, he can pass catch also, but he's more of your burst guy up the middle to get you those yards and be more of your, not a true power runner, but more of your power runner than Austin Eckler could be, because you can kind of then run that same running back guy by committee that the Saints still do, but did very effectively with Kamara and Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I think, that's definitely possible, but, part of me also thinks...
Get your quarterback because Phillip Rivers ain't coming back?
Well...
Especially if they move to London?
Here's all... Which I got a thought about that.
Okay.
Dumb.
Before we move on, we will talk about them possibly moving to London.
I mean, how many times can you fuck over a fan base, huh?
Well, the Rams. LA's got the Rams. They don't care.
There's a lot going on up here right now, and I can't speak.
We'll get into it. Talk about the draft first, and then we'll talk about it.
So even if Phillip Rivers comes back,
yeah,
and I love Phillip Rivers. I think he's a great guy. As a person,
there's many people that want the Bears to sign him here in Chicago.
I think he's a really good quarterback, though, too.
Yeah,
but he's not a spring chicken.
He's old.
He's a good quarterback, but that's also where, and he's not. I mean, he's not young, but he's. A lot of people would say, "Well, Tom Brady said he's going to play till he's 50." Well, he's looking more and more like he could, but
Phillip Rivers will be 38 on December 8th.
Okay, so Tom Brady's 42.
Yeah,
4 years older.
Is he really?
I thought so. Well,
I'm
just making it up. I don't want to. This is a fact-based podcast here.
Yeah, he's 42. Fuck, he's old.
So
I'm old. I'm almost 30.
Yeah, you're ancient. But
Tom Brady will. Well, okay, he turned 42 this year. Go on.
So ultimately, my question is, how much money, if you're signing Phillip Rivers, how much money do you want to give him? Because
now his contract is $23 million.
Because because again, he's earned the money.
Yeah.
He's earned the money for sure. He hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's earned the money.
He hasn't. That's more on his teams, not him.
But and people would argue that. They'll argue it for days.
I'm gonna actually send you a video. The guys at SB Nation did a video on, I think it was the 2013 Chargers, that like 4 or 5 of their losses was because of their special teams.
I do not reject that thought.
Yeah.
Because for the Chargers, what was it, just a couple of years ago? Like 3 or 4 of their losses was because of their kicker.
Yeah. No, I think it was the same year. I'm going to look up the video and just send it to you so you can watch it later.
But I would say is a team willing to give that much money to Phillip Rivers, a guy they know is not going to be their franchise quarterback, but a guy who definitely could be the final piece
2010
for a season that they feel like they've got everything else. They need a final piece. Mm-hmm. And for the Chargers, are you willing to bring Phillip Rivers back? And he's done great things for you. He's been, again, great guy. But are you ready to move on and get the future? Those are the tough questions.
It's an interesting conversation, and the Chargers are definitely going to have this conversation in the offseason. Because this is another thing. And this affects the draft, do you go to get that quarterback via a trade? Do you go to get that quarterback via free agency to where you don't have to draft one in the draft? Because one guy that I think is going to be a very, 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 very interesting commodity via the trade market or via free agency is Teddy Bridgewater. After this year, what he did for the Saints, it's either going to be a trade or free agency, because if he's a free agent, someone's going to want him because of how good he did this year, which was phenomenal after the injury he suffered with the Vikings. But there's even a chance that the Saints have an option on his contract. They can accept that option, keep him, and then either keep him as a backup behind Drew Brees, or they can say, screw it, we're going to go ahead and try to trade Teddy Bridgewater now while the value is high to try to get draft picks or stuff from other teams to bolster this team and make this Super Bowl caliber team even better.
Yeah, that's, again, you make a great point with Teddy Bridgewater. And another thing that I wanted to mention too is that we're really looking at, we're coming to an end of some really great eras. I mean, Drew Brees is going to, he's going to retire soon. I mean, we know that he will.
Before Tom Brady.
Yeah, he will. I mean, most people will retire before they get to be Tom Brady's age.
Until he's dead, man. He's going to will Jamal Adams it? Will he die on the football field? Who knows? I hope he does, and I hope he retires before that. Brandon's like, that was very awkward.
So you got Drew Brees going to be retiring. And I'm not saying this year, but I'm saying going to be retiring soon.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers, same thing. Tom Brady, same thing. Or apparently changing teams, which is so stupid. I don't think that's going to ever happen.
It's funny. The top 4 free agents this year, Drew Brees, he's probably going to stay with New Orleans. Tom Brady, probably staying with New England. Eli Manning will probably be on another team if he's playing in the NFL.
Retire Eli.
If he's playing in the NFL. Phillip Rivers might be playing with a new team. After that, it's Teddy Bridgewater. And then it's just like the next two, like, this is going to be a weird quarterback free agency because it's the top guys are all proven vets in Brees, Brady. Eli's a proven vet, but let's be honest, he should just retire. And then Phillip Rivers, Teddy Bridgewater, who had a really good year this year and raised his stock. Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, the top 2 quarterbacks from their draft. And then it just takes a drop. Case Keenum, Chad Henne, Drew Stanton, Colt McCoy, Nate Sudfeld, A.J. McCarron, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Glennon. Backup city.
Maybe the Bears can get Mike Glennon back.
The Giraffe, Blaine Gabbert, Blake Bortles, just backup city after Winston or Mariota. So it's like, for the Chargers, is there going to be an option free agency for quarterback, or will you have to start thinking about it in the draft? Because then you're thinking of Tyrod Taylor as your quarterback, where Tyrod Taylor wasn't bad.
Bad thought.
But I don't think Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback that brings the LA Chargers to the promised land.
No, or the London Brits.
We're gonna move on into the Titans. Before that, give me your thought. You wanted to give me your thoughts on the whole London thing, because how I found out about it was I saw a tweet from the Chargers Twitter account that said, it was the thing from Wolf of Wall Street, where it's like, I'm fucking staying, and every reply is like, nobody cares, we don't like you here, LA already has a team, go back to San Diego, like, just hate of like, oh, you're not even liked in your own city. But you said you have thoughts about the Chargers possibly moving to London.
I'm sorry.
Which their owner has called complete bullshit on. That the reports of them moving are total bullshit, is his exact quote.
So
the guy who's already moved once.
Not what I saw. And that on the ticker on NFL Network, and obviously everything on the ticker is of course true. Is that they were open to possibly being the team for London. And here's also my thing, and I certainly do not mean to offend anybody. Not all that big on the London series. Not all that big on.
I can't stand it.
Not all that big.
It messes with my fantasy, especially this past week. I had to fucking set line. Like, if there's questionable guys, DJ Chark, I had to make sure he was ready to go by 8:30.
You put it in the night before.
Yeah, but if he's a game time decision, I gotta wake up at 7:30 to make sure he's playing or not. Like, come on.
It's your problem.
I know they should they should all be night games out there. I'm sorry, London. You all get night games because then they're noon games over here for us.
So here's the thing, that the only reason why they're trying to do this in London is to make more money. They need it.
That's why they did the Mexico City one, and it didn't work out because of weather.
So my ultimate thing is that, why would you do that? You've already ruined a fan base.
Yeah.
With the Chargers. And
San Diego hates them.
I feel really bad for the San Diegans.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for them because you had this team and they weren't doing enough to promote their team there in San Diego.
Yeah.
So instead of, okay, how can we better get people to these games and do some different stuff and do some deals?
Wasn't it also a stadium thing too? Like the city wouldn't pay for the stadium?
I don't know all the specifics with it, unfortunately, to be able to say here. But, instead of doing anything like that or fixing the problem here, let's take it somewhere else.
In the same state.
I'm sorry. The fact that then there's talk that they might become London's team. London shouldn't even have a team.
And the exact quote from Dean Spanos, too, to combat that ticker thing, he said, "It's total fucking bullshit. We're not going to London. We're not going anywhere. We're playing in Los Angeles. This is our home, and this is where we are planning to be for a long fucking time, period."
You think Dean's mad?
I think Dean's a little mad.
But I guess I don't have the appreciation maybe that other people do for the London games.
No, I don't.
And the fact or the thought of having a team in London. If you had a team in London, let's say the Minnesota Vikings became the London's team. How many fans do you lose if you're Minnesota?
I thought the Jaguars were London's team.
You can't go and see them. You're not going there.
No, I'm not.
You're not going for a game. So then are you still a Minnesota Viking fan or do you change and become someone else?
I was just going to let you know. If the Vikings ever moved to London, I'd be a Bears fan. I would. I would just be a Bears fan at that point.
And if the Bears ever moved to London, Chiefs all the way.
Oh, okay. I was like, I thought you were going to go. I forgot that I keep forgetting you're a Chiefs fan too. I shouldn't, but I do. It's like, well, if the Bears ever moved to London, well, there's a team up north. I guess I'm a Packer fan now.
Hell no.
If they were the only team in the league, would you root for them?
Nope.
Nope. Brand's like, I wouldn't watch the NFL. But yeah, like if the Vikings, and I know people are going to say, well, Ricky, you're not a true fan then, but it's like, you're right.
Can anyone be a true fan when you're here in America and your team only plays their home games across the pond? We're not talking a little pond.
I mean, you could, because there's people like soccer teams, like if you're a Bundesliga fan.
No fun.
But there's fans out there that like soccer.
I understand, and I'm sure that you guys might too, but people are no fun to me.
People are like, Brandon, why are you catering to the soccer fans? This is a football podcast. But...
Or is it the football?
I don't think the NFL should move because it messes up travel. It totally messes up travel, and especially when every team's got to play a Thursday night game. Do you think Seattle on a short week? Well, here's the thing: they'd have to redo the divisions then.
Yeah, they would,
because they're a West team. Do you think that the Arizona Cardinals on a short week want to fly from, let's say they're playing in Seattle.
Nope.
That they have to fly from Seattle to London to play on Thursday night? Because you'd have to leave right after that Seattle game to go to London. You're not coming back to Arizona to go to London. Like, it would mess up travel in my mind so much to where don't move a team to London. But let's move on. The next team I wanted to look at is the Tennessee Titans. I almost said the Tennessee Chargers. Chargers are moving to Tennessee.
I was thinking
they'll be the Memphis Chargers.
I thought you were going to say that you were going to call them the Tennessee Titans.
No, the Tennessee Titans, because this is another team that could draft quarterback. I have them drafting quarterback in this mock. And in your mind, the Titans, Marcus Mariota, I'm assuming, yet again, like the Andy Dalton thing, once you bench him, you're moving on from him. Congratulations, Marcus Mariota will be a free agent at the end of the year. And they also have Ryan Tannehill coming up at the end of the year. However, if he plays well like he has been, do they re-sign him on the cheap to be their starting quarterback? Or if you're the Titans, do you say, fuck it, we're drafting a quarterback this year and we're going all in on it?
And that's why I just wanted to make point out a very interesting point, is that... Or point out a very interesting comment. Point out a very interesting point is redundant. But you mentioned something that was very interesting, is that the Tennessee Titans, they've benched Marcus Mariota. The Cincinnati Bengals have benched Andy Dalton. By doing that, they're saying, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. We're over it.
Benchings.
for any Bears fans that are out there that are watching
Which
this.
Tampa Bay fans are going, see, we're not moving on from Jameis.
The hell with those fans. Any Bears fans watching who say, Mitch is not the answer, the Bears should be done with him. The Bears themselves may not be keen on Mitch Trubisky, but they have not fully fledged. All the coaches, all the front office come together and said, we are moving on. Because if they would have, they would bench him.
Do you think it's 'cause they don't have a draft pick?
The reason why, there could be a thought to that, but there could also be a thought to the money that they're paying him as well, too. That doesn't help either. But the Bears, the reason why Nagy continues to stick with Trubisky is because they are not going to put up the white flag yet. They are not ready to do it. If they were, they'd not get rid of, but they would push him to the side and they'd say, Chase Daniel, it's keys for you, buddy. Rest of the season. We're not going to use you next year, but rest of this season, it's all yours because we are not going forward with Mitch. They're not doing that because they're not done with him. The Bengals, they are done with Andy Dalton. We knew that last year. The Tennessee Titans, they are done with Mariota. They tried, and it didn't work out.
Next year will be Mitch's last year if he continues to play like this because he's got next year and then the club option. So, I mean, they could out from next year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with the Titans, though, are you going quarterback this
and I'm
year?
sorry, I didn't answer your question. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I'm definitely going quarterback if I'm the Titans because
they could also go running back, too.
They don't need one.
I mean...
They don't need one. Derrick Henry's your guy.
Let's see. Derrick Henry, because he's a free agent at the end of the year. You got Deion Lewis under contract.
You sign him back.
Okay.
You sign back Derrick Henry.
You use the money you're giving up with Mariota to sign.
I absolutely think so. I don't think there's no... if Derrick Henry would have come out and played this season like he played at the beginning of last season, where he's only getting 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards, and no touchdowns, then, I'm letting him walk and waving and shutting the door behind him.
Yeah.
Not now. He had a great end of the season last year, like a ridiculously good end of the season, and he's been consistently good this year.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping him. You have a really good running game, but you need to pair that with a passing game that can move the ball and not be so inconsistent. That's the problem with Mariota, was that he was inconsistent and he wasn't able to. Part of it was he couldn't stay healthy. Then the other part of it was that he just couldn't. He couldn't drive his team down the field enough times in a game. And when you can't do that, it becomes very, very difficult. I don't know if you know that or not.
No, it does.
And Ryan Tannehill, I don't think, is the answer either.
And the thing that I'm looking at, too, is all it would take is... So the thing I think about when it's to the Titans, because there may be some people that go, well, Ricky, you got to think of this. Moving up from 15, what are they at? Yeah, 15. How much are they going to have to give up? The thing I wonder this year when it comes to the quarterbacks is there going to be a team like the Titans, like maybe the Dolphins? Maybe they go with a Andrew Thomas, a Jerry Jeudy with their fourth and try to move up with another pick. Will there be a team like, I'm trying to look to see if there's a quarterback needy team outside of the top 10, because obviously the Bucs are in the top 10. Maybe a Chargers, like we've talked about. One of these teams moving up a la the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, because if you think about that one, the Chiefs moved up from 27th overall into the top 10, which seemed like, how the hell did you do that? You moved up from 27 to 10, and all they had to give up was a first, a third, and a first the year after. I know I've got Jalen Hurts going to the Titans here in this mock, but this is a team that can make a playoff push, because right now they're 4-5. If they make the playoffs, they'll at least be 21 and below. But if they make a playoff push, this could be a team that could easily say, hey, we're going to try to, let's say the Bucs don't go with a quarterback. They could call up the Raiders, call up the Broncos. Hey, we'll give you a first, a third, and next year's first to move up. to get a quarterback. And the thing I'll just kind of ask you is, do you think we will see after the top 2 quarterbacks go, whoever they are, Tua Herbert, Tua Burrow, Burrow Herbert, do you think that there will be trade-ups like we saw in 2017 where teams traded up to get Deshaun Watson, traded up to get Patrick Mahomes? Do we see that with the guys outside the top 2 after the Bengals get their guy and the Dolphins get their guy? Or do we see someone maybe jump frog the Dolphins and get a quarterback and trade up even that far?
I think we could see it because we have really good quarterback talent this year. No one was really pulling the trigger on doing something like that last year.
Yeah.
But this year's a season where I really think, and it's a class where they have proven themselves. And I don't want to take away anything from the guys last year. Not to say that they didn't prove themselves, but Tua, number of big games. We talked about this earlier. Tua, number of big games. Joe Burrow, number of big games. Herbert, he's been in big games.
Yeah. For 2 years
excuse me.
All these guys.
I don't know why I'm losing his name, but Jalen Hurts, he's been in big games too.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that because he wasn't always on Oklahoma. He was on that better team, Alabama. But they've all been in big games. They've all produced for their teams. They've all won. And they've all been there more than 1 year.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the big thing of like, I can't wait because you even said it. You're like, yeah, this team, like, we've got a lot of quarterback talent. The thing that I think doesn't worry me, but it's interesting, is it's a lot of quarterback talent, but I feel like the Baker Darnold class was hyped a lot more. And I don't know why. Like, these quarterbacks aren't worse than what we saw there, but I feel like we were more hyped about that quarterback class of 5 than we are now. Is it because Fromm hasn't been having a great year? Is it because people are doubting Jalen Hurts even as a number first round prospect in general? Like, is that why this class feels weird?
I think part of it is because with Baker, they had the media had something to talk about. With here, Tua, he's a quiet guy. He goes about his business. Jalen, quiet guy, goes about his business. Burrow, the same way.
Burrow says the right things.
That's exactly it, though.
All these guys do exactly what you want them to do.
No, they do. Yeah. And it's, the problem with the media is they don't pick that up, but they'll pick up Baker flipping someone off, and there's the story they run with for weeks.
Yeah.
That's their problem.
Or
and
is
that's
it because
why,
of where they play, too? Because you think about it, where both Darnold and Rosen, California, Herbert, Oregon. Tua plays for Alabama. I mean, Alabama's in the spotlight, but with Alabama, it's all about like the team. Joe Burrow, LSU, where it's like, oh, SEC football. It's not as national as it is regional, where it's like you can fall in love with the California quarterbacks. Like you said, Baker making the media stories of planting the flag, flipping the birds, running from the cops and getting tackled by a cop.
True, but also, I mean, I think that when you think of LSU, your first thought isn't Joe Burrow. Your first thought is, Ed Odra, I'm coming from biscuits today.
I knew we were going to get one.
Coach, what do you think of the game tonight? I think we're going to put up some points and probably win the game. Thank you. Thanks, Ed.
If I closed my eyes, I wouldn't know that Brandon Swanson was on the side of the table. I thought I'd be doing the podcast with Ed Orgeron. But yeah, it's just the quarterbacks. I can't wait to see what happens with them the rest of this year. And obviously in the draft, because they're, like you said, talented guys. I wanted to throw it out there where it's like I feel like the hype isn't there like there was for the Darnold, Baker, Rosen, Allen, and who's the fifth guy I'm missing out on? Lamar Jackson. Lamar Action Jackson, number 5.
And I don't want to take anything away from those guys because they've all been good in their own way and stuff like that. And we're seeing, some of that talent start to get even better as we're looking at the Ravens are successful, the Bills are successful, things like that. But these guys, I think, could be very special. I know we say that probably all the time, but what they're doing right now, it's not just one good season where you're like, well, they're really good in this 1 year, so I'm sure they'll be good over here. It's like, no. They're good.
So I want to move on because we have gone a little long with this segment. Last team I want to hit, the Cowboys. And the reason why is, so I had them go wide receiver, Senault Jr. out of Colorado. Is wide receiver going to be the position that the Cowboys go with? Because looking at their contracts for this offseason, I'm assuming Amari Cooper will get his money.
Yeah, he should.
Right now, they still have to pay Dak. They still have to pay Amari Cooper. But you also have Tavon Austin and Randall Cobb coming up at the end of the year. Do those two guys, because of the money having to go elsewhere, those two guys get let go? And are the Cowboys going to be we are scouting a first-round wide receiver this year to play next to Amari Cooper? Is it going to be a foregone conclusion that they will be looking for a wide receiver in the first round of the draft?
Well, I part of me wants to say that they might look on the defensive side, and part of me wants to say that is because Sean Lee,
D lineman kind of a thing, or linebacker.
Well, part of me was going to say someone to possibly replace Sean Lee because he's always hurt.
Yeah.
I am saying the right person. I'm thinking of the right person,
Sean
right?
Lee,
Sean Lee, he's the one that's always hurt. I mean, good talent when he's out there, but he's injured a lot, and he's almost a foregone conclusion exactly that he's going to get hurt at some point in the season. But at the same time, so I look, maybe does Dallas want to try and fill a void on the defensive side? Part of me also then does say, though, okay, you're going to put in a ton of money for Dak, and every good performance, more money. That's what I think of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Dak can say. At the end of the year,
and if they don't pay him and he walks, they're looking for a quarterback in the draft.
At the end of the year, if they go, let's say 10-6, 11-5, something like that, and they go to the playoffs, and they let's say they make a significant run in the playoffs, Dak's getting his money. And if that's the case, you then want to make sure that your big money quarterback has all the weapons he needs to be successful. Ezekiel Elliott, boom, huge weapon. Amari Cooper, huge weapon. Michael Gallup, turning into a pretty good weapon. I know he's like the ageless wonder, and he came back out of the booth to do it, but Jason Witten, guy racks up tons of catches. He's not, getting you your 100 yards or anything like that, but an 8-catch game for 50 yards and a touchdown, not out of the question.
Yeah.
But another receive. I think Dallas could go for another wide receiver. I think it would make sense for them to do that.
And the reason why I think it's so prime for them to is because I look at the wide receivers available, and there's a chance, although I didn't have this many going in my first round, there's a possibility that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers go in the first round. So 5 to 6 wide receivers were Jerry Jeudy, top 5. CeeDee Lamb, top 15. Harry Ruggs III also could be a top 15 pick in the draft. Senault Jr., who I have at 21, we'll say could be top 20 in the draft. T. Higgins could also be a top 20 pick depending on where teams go. And then kind of at the very end, just tail of the first round, you've got Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver out of TCU. So, there's those wide receivers, but then there's also, I look at later on where it's like, The defensive idea is interesting that you bring up. I mean, if I look at my mock, linebacker is going to be interesting because the only other linebackers really available would be Dylan Moses from Alabama, but he's more of an inside guy. Sean Lee's on the outside. And then Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. But if they're going to go cornerback or D-line, you've got Javon Kinlaw on the inside of that line. You've got Paulson Adebo from Stanford. You've also got Bryce Hall from Stanford on the cornerback side. You've got Julian Akwara, the defensive end from Notre Dame. So, I mean, what? Notre Dame.
Okay, Quasimodo.
but I mean, like, there are defensive guys there. It's just linebacker might be a little bit of a reach. That's why I went wide receiver. They're losing a lot. And, hey, I could see Jerry Jones fucking it up where it's like, I give Dak the money. We don't have any money for Amari Cooper, and they really need a wide receiver then at that point.
No, there's no way that Cooper does not get his money with Dallas.
He should. He should. Dak and Amari should get their money. I don't know why they have not already. Like, they should be locked up. Like, you should have wanted to lock them up sooner. But I get that Dallas has a ton of... They had Jalen Smith they have to worry about. They had Ezekiel Elliott. And it's like, there had to be an order, and this is just the order that's fallen into.
Yeah, no, and I think that's right. And at that point, when you have so many guys up for a new contract, that's a tough spot to be in. I mean, I don't envy Jerry Jones on that one at all, and you have to try and be as careful as possible with it. You want to try and give guys the money they deserve at the right time. Timing's a huge thing, all those types of things. So I do get that, but you don't want to lose. You're not going to lose Dak. You're not.
Yeah.
But you don't want to lose Amari Cooper. I don't think you're going to lose him either. And I think he wants to be with the Cowboys, especially if they're winning, because his alternative would be he might go and think, the Raiders might try and get me again. I don't want to go back.
I mean, if he walks, the Lions will throw him money. The Cardinals will throw him money. I'm trying to think. The Jets could throw him money. Like, there are teams out there. The Dolphins could throw him money. I don't know why you wouldn't go play with the Dolphins.
No.
I'm trying to think other teams. The Bears, I don't think really need a wide receiver. Plus, they wouldn't throw him money.
Well, the Bears, people would argue having a wide receiver group is great, but who's throwing it?
The Packers could also, because, their wide receiver group has been good, but they don't have that Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. Like, Devonta Adams is their number one, but other than
and
that,
he's been out for much of the year.
Exactly. That's why
hasn't seemed to matter.
That's why, as I'm listing guys, I'm like, oh wait, Adams is still on the team. As I'm thinking, Gmo, Vontae Scandling, like all these guys where it's like, where's Devonta Adams? Kind of a situation, but this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think. Oh, last quick thing before we move on, because they're in this range. Doesn't need a quick thing. Cam Newton on the IR. Are the Panthers going? You don't have to go into who they are not they, just a yes or no and a little bit. Are we ready to throw the Panthers hat into drafting a quarterback in this draft because of Cam Newton going to the IR? Or will they be like, nope, Kyle Allen's our guy, even if Cam doesn't start for them next year?
I think it's really going to depend on where the Panthers end up at the end of this season, and I think they'll be able to evaluate it from there. Okay. I'm not ready to say one way or another. I'm not ready yet, and I don't think the Panthers should be either, because they have a lot more evaluating to do in terms of Cam's injury and in terms of Kyle Allen's talent. Because while I think he is good, you want someone who you know is going to be good for the foreseeable future and isn't just a flash in the pan.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.